and I believe we were going to the premiere of the movie Panther. And I'm black, y'all. It was in May of 1995. We invited you to go to the Panther premiere.
That is, yep.
Blacker than black, I'm blacker than black, yo, because I'm black and I'm black.
The Panther movie was free.
The Panther movie was
but he
free.
did take me to those $2 movies.
Back in those days, I went on a date. You had a $2 movie and a $3 Happy Meal.
Because he and his friends were in that world. That's how we got to see the Panther on the premiere, because someone had tickets.
I gotta sell VIP tickets. We are all invited.
Because they were doing managing and doing whatever. So everything was just kind of new.
We're gonna show you the real deal. You got the VIP treatment.
Tonight, we are talking about love and marriage.
Relationships and marriage are a spiritual discipline where you collide with each other's wounded inner child, and you help each other heal the most broken parts of you.
I also just want to get on his insurance.
We were like walking like this.
Excuse me, bro. You're excused.
And we literally stopped at the same time, turned around and said,
Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?
A good wife and a good woman. There's a difference between having a woman and having a man. A lot of people end up having a woman and having a man.
A good man is hard to find. You follow me?
But you want to have a good man and you want to have a good woman. There's a very big difference.
To a good woman.
Say hello to my urbanites.
Hello.
Look, talking about a toxic marriage. I'm talking about a healthy, good marriage.
You're a good woman for saying that, but you're a because it's a lie and you're patronizing me.
Hello, my urbanites. How is everyone doing tonight? You have landed and entered the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa Lacan. Listen, we have a fantastic show tonight. We have some very special guests, some authors. They wrote this book called Intentional Foreplay, and we're going to get into it after these messages. So stick with us. We'll be right back. You are entering the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa Lacan. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Let's talk about mental health. Hello. You are back with me, Dr. Lisa Lacan, in the Urban Suite. And tonight we have special guests, the Allens, Les and Sydney Allen, who wrote this book, a guidebook to prepare you for the love that is aligned with you, Intentional Foreplay. Oh my gosh. Just let me tell you, I'm going to be honest, my urbanites, just the title got me, Intentional Foreplay. I love that. A play of words and just, who doesn't like foreplay? All right. Well, anyway, let me not get too much into it. So we'll be right back after this missing person, as well as messages from our sponsor. Stay with us. All right, so this is our missing person segment. So if you are new to the Urban Suite, I always highlight someone missing when I do a scheduled show. And tonight is no exception. So who do we have? We have Kimora Anaya Rodriguez. She is missing, and she has been missing since February the 14th, 2023, from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Listen, you folks from Allentown, Pennsylvania, I need you to look at her picture. I need you to share this information, and I need you to like, because the more sharing you do, the more liking you do, the more you look at this picture, you can become aware of who is missing. So she's 20 years old. She's missing from Allentown, Pennsylvania. She's a female. Her race is Black. Her complexion is light. She's 5'4". She's 250 pounds. Her hair color is black. Her hair length is long, and her eye color is brown. So her location last seen, she was last seen at her residence, which is very odd. But listen to this. Her circumstances surrounding her disappearance. According to Kimura's mother, she met someone online, another one online, that has been mentally and verbally abusing her. The person convinced her to leave home and travel back to the state of Alabama. Kimura is going through a mental crisis and has mentioned harming herself. So anyone with information, please contact the Upper Mashuni Township Police Department. That is the Upper Mashuni or Makunji. I'm not really certain how to pronounce that. Township Police Department at 484-661-5911. Again, I'm going to repeat that for my Spotify family, my iHeartRadio family, my Google Podcast family, because you can't actually see what I'm seeing right now. But the telephone number is area code 484-661-5911, or you can contact the Black and Missing Foundation, and their telephone number is 877-97-BAMFI. Let's bring Miss Rodriguez home. So we have an update. Yes. Listen, this one got me last week, Marsha Green. And let me tell you, I had to, after I did the show, I laid hands on her picture and I prayed for her safe recovery, because she was another one. She's only 14 years old. And apparently she met someone online and left with that person and was missing for 10 days. So listen, I thank you guys for putting this information out there. I thank you for sharing this information. I thank you for praying for each and every person that I highlight in this missing person segment, because we cannot rely on the party goers to talk about what's happening in our community. Oh, thank you. Dr. Jennifer Payne Parrish said, thank you for this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So she has been found safe. And I think my camera is not working appropriately. How is it looking, Curtis? Am I freezing?
No, your camera is not actually freezing, but I do just want you to pull it down a little bit.
All right. Pull it down. So how about that?
Yes, that's better. So we can get those nice borders in there. Okay, great.
All right. All right. You're going to say my name. All right. All right. So without further ado, hold on. Because you know what? It takes a special person to write a book, and a self-help book, a guidebook, a book that will help the masses. And let me tell you about this book, a guidebook to prepare you for the love that's aligned with you. Because oftentimes when we meet someone, we're confronted with, number one, lust, number two, maybe some fears or whatever, and then we end up in these relationships. But the Allens, who have recently been married, wrote this book, Intentional Foreplay. Like I said, I love the name, Intentional Foreplay. So let me tell you a little bit about each one of them, and then I'm going to bring them from behind the curtain. All right. So Sydney Allen LCPC. She's a licensed clinical professional counselor. Sydney is a licensed clinical professional counselor that specializes in family and couples counseling. She is a graduate of Hampton University and Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. Aside from counseling hundreds of couples, Sydney has tackled head-on and survived the best and worst of being married and being in the dating game as a single mom. So she knows both worlds. And then her husband, Les Allen. Les is a proud graduate of Hampton University and a savvy entrepreneur that has built several successful businesses. Over the past 30 years, he has mastered the art of the 5 P's: patience, planning, partnerships, perseverance, and prayer, which he considers to be the foundational elements of a successful entrepreneur. Les has learned life lessons from all of his relationships. All right, so let's bring out the Allens. Yay! Oh my, beautiful.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for entering into the Urban Suite. You all are the first newlyweds in the Urban Suite.
All right. All right.
So you all are officially urbanites. I bequeath you. Boom, boom. All right.
Thank you. We accept.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So let's get into it, because you all are recently married. And how did you, first of all, let's see, how did you decide to write a book? But before that, how did you all meet?
Well, we met back at Hampton University over 30 years ago.
Oh.
We both were psychology majors, and I'm a year older than her, if you can't tell. And so I switched majors, so we ended up being in some of the same classes at the same time. So we knew each other strictly through our majors at that time.
Now, did you have the hots for Sydney back then?
I thought she was very attractive. But we both were doing our own things at that time.
Right,
well.
right. So did you all stay connected as friends over the years? How did that happen? Like, how did this happen?
Yeah, we actually didn't stay connected for a long time, and then reconnected via Facebook. You know how you kind of keep up with people's lives via Facebook, although you're not talking to them personally. And so I was always intrigued with Les' posts. He was a very humorous poster. And it wasn't until my line sister reached out to me, and this was in 2020, and said, someone wants to know if Sid is single. And so at that point, I was single. I was newly single, but I was over dating.
Okay.
Over dating. You know, I had played in it and lost. And so I definitely said, okay, I'm open to hearing who it is. But at this point in my life, I'm not looking to play any more games, no more foolery. I just I want to love intentionally this time. And that's what I'm seeking. Right. And so she said, well, I mean, I think he's a really good guy. And why don't you give it a try? And so that's when the chapter began. This was September of 2020.
Wow. So this was in, I guess, the pandemic, right? So
correct.
How was that? Like, you all just communicated via online, phone, and
well, initially we did. So we were going back and forth via the phone and texting calls for the first maybe month. And then after that, we had decided that we needed to have a face-to-face date.
Okay.
But now prior to this, when Les was talking about being, I told him how I felt, where I stood, and I wanted to be intentional. And I wasn't necessarily feeling the fact, because I had my list of non-negotiables. And I didn't know how I felt about a long distance relationship. I'm in the DMV area. Les was 13 hours away in Tampa, Florida. And so I kind of asked him a whole lot of questions. I was trying to kind of rule this out.
She was trying to eliminate me before we even got started.
I was trying to rule them out. And so he said, listen, I want to be just as intentional as you. and we're not going to let more than 2 weeks go by without seeing one another. And I'm like, wait a minute. We're in the midst of a pandemic. No one's even leaving the house. But let me tell you, he came through with that. He was a man of his word. Sometimes it was less and the pilot alone on the plane.
And the pilot, a private jet.
But he made his way and he kept his word. And that really showed me a lot. You know what I mean? And so I think we both went into it really kind of expressing our desires of intentionality. And that's kind of what propelled us to write the book, because our dating process ended up being so easy.
Okay.
You know, I think when you have a roadmap and you have a trip in mind, it just makes getting to that destination that much easier. And so I really think we were able to get to the destination because we were aligned and we were very intentional.
Now, what does that mean, intentional, in the realm of dating? Like, how does that look? What do you mean when you say intentional?
Well, what we mean is, first of all, we don't like the term dating, because dating can lead you anywhere. So we like courting. So when we decided that we're on the same, that we were aligned basically in thought, and that we both wanted the same thing, then dating wasn't an option. Everything was moving forward towards courting. So we were being very intentional with every move that we made, every time we saw each other, every phone call. And it wasn't mechanical. It was very fun. It was fact finding. And that's why a lot of these questions in the book came about, because we would ask each other a lot of questions, some lighthearted, but some very serious, because, you know, at our age, I'm looking at, you know, I want to be with someone that is in the same space and time as I am, that has the same likes and loves that I do for the most part, and that we get along well. So we found out we were aligned through these questions and spending time together.
So you all have been previously married. This is your number 3, correct? And you talk about that in the book. And then Sydney, this is your number 2. And some of the things that you talked about in the book, which I thought was really important about the non-negotiables. And there are certain things that you said about the non-negotiables that on the surface, it can look pretty like, oh, well, what does that have to do with whatever? Let's talk about non-negotiables.
Okay.
I think non-negotiables is very important. So Les, you have some of your non-negotiables. Let's see, where is it? You are on page 40, you guys. See. Page 40. I told you I read the book. I don't just stop at page 5.
Thank you.
All right. So it says, my future wife must be and or possess some of these qualities. Now, I'm not going to read all of them. Godly, honest, transparent, and loyal. Have no children younger than 18, which I think is very important. A college graduate, preferably from an HBCU, preferably a private HBCU, preferably Hampton, and then a member of a Divine Nine sorority. Sorry, not sorry. Now, on the surface, that looks like, what the heck? Explain that.
Well, I went back when I was, after my last divorce, I went back and thought about, like, you know, where was I the most happiest, you know, in my entire life? And all my happy times outside of having my daughters was at Hampton, you know? And so I said, if I can dream about how would I like to live the rest of my life, it would be in that same atmosphere. So I want my non-negotiables. I want that person to be able to enjoy the same Hampton or same HBCU experience that I did. My 2 previous wives didn't attend HBCUs. So like going to homecoming wasn't as important to them, or it became an argument. So I didn't want to have to go through those course situations anymore. So I decided I wanted somebody that understood homecoming, that appreciated homecoming. And the Divine Nine piece comes in because when I'm at homecoming, I want to be able to hang out with my friends and frat brothers. And if she's in the organization, she can do the same. And then we can meet up at night and hang out together. Right. So again, my non-negotiables are about what Les wants and what's Les's dreams. And I want everyone to try to do that as well when you go through this, because it's about you. Because after you find out who you are and what you need and what you want in your life, then your non-negotiables have to point to what is going to make you whole or happy with your next relationship, hopefully your final relationship.
Right. And trust me, we got criticized. I mean, Les got criticized for that. People called him shallow, and but I think he had a really good reason for that. And people may look at this as extreme, but it's it's staying true to yourself. You got to stay true to yourself.
Right.
And so I'm saying in the past, when I didn't stay true to myself, when I didn't have a list of non-negotiables, when I didn't set those standards, then it robbed me of some serious time and challenges. And so, I think you got to stay true to yourself, and you really have to identify what's most important for you.
And I think you just said something very important, because in a sense, you didn't have a non-negotiable, or you just kind of went, I guess, willy-nilly. And I think oftentimes when we go willy-nilly into a relationship, you never know what you're going to get, but oftentimes it does not come out as what you initially wanted. And Sydney, you said something about this. This is interesting about the non-negotiables. Now, this is on page 168. I thought this was so powerful. I'm telling you, this is so powerful. You said, because when we don't have these non-negotiables, this is what can happen. My hope is to spare someone out there, especially my dear daughters, by helping them understand that sex doesn't equal love. For some, it doesn't equal like. To many, simply put, it is just pleasurable exercise. Situationships get old, and so does meaningless sex. And I think what you just said here and in this book, when we don't have those non-negotiables, we just it's
just haphazard. It's haphazard that way. I mean, this chapter is so important. I wanted to save the best for last. But I think if you don't have those if you're not in alignment with your potential partner, and you don't set those non-negotiables, if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for anything, right?
You got to say that.
Yes, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And too often we put ourselves in these situationships,
right?
And then we get involved intimately, and that is just a setup for a setback. And let me tell you, even the nicest of gentlemen will use you. You really have to really respect yourself more and your desires rather than that relationship. And really stand firm. And I wanted to spare someone from having to learn the hard way. If I can help my children, my daughters,
right,
then I feel like our daughters, I've done a good deed. So
awesome.
A lot of times we put more energy or more intentionality and forethought into buying a car or a house than what we do when we go into a relationship. So that's we ask our best friends for intel and advice about this vehicle. We do research on whatever car magazine is out there. We go to the dealership, test drive, kick tires, ask 12,000 questions. But when it comes to actually being with somebody that we want to spend the rest of our lives with, they're cute, and that's about it. So I think what we want to do through this book is have people take the time to put that same due diligence into the relationship that they put into anything else that they care about. Because this is lifelong. That's the intention of it, is to be lifelong.
Right, absolutely. And then speaking of intentional, what is the intentional courting model that you all have in your book, the ICM?
So the ICM is basically made up of 6 different things. So the first one is basically what we've been talking about. In order to set your non-negotiables, you have to know yourself. So learning yourself, who you are. My story with that is, until I was 49, I didn't even have an opportunity to buy furniture by myself without having someone else's input. So I didn't even know what type of furniture I wanted to buy, because I'm so used to being married in a relationship, I couldn't make that decision on my own. So I had to really think about being intentional about buying furniture. What do I want? Leather? Do I want this? So I had to take that time to learn myself, even to doggone pick out some damn, a couch. So that's the first item in the intentional courtship model.
Mm-hmm. So the second one is decide to be intentional in all aspects of your life. You know what I mean? You just can't. It's easier when you're intentional with everything, as opposed to being intentional with this but not being intentional with that. So you have to really let what you have learned about yourself sink in. Your non-negotiables, commit that list to memory. Same way we memorize a song, the same way we memorize prior to a presentation. Really commit your list and really let that list sink in. Respect that list.
Right.
And then after you respected the list,
then you have to refine your pool. So, sometimes you might be in a situation where people that have the traits on your non-negotiables might not be in that certain pool you're in. A pool can be as your existing friend group, it can be your church, or it can even go as far as your city. So, I took the time to figure out what the pool was I wanted to be in, and for me, it was the Hampton pool. And then I knew that I needed to find somebody in that pool that I could be with. So even if that meant flying every 2 weeks to get there.
Right, in a pandemic.
Right. So
right.
So that's what I mean by kind of honing your pool, because you can't go to a club expecting to get a husband most times.
Right. Because
when we at the club, we ain't thinking about being nobody's husband.
Right.
So that's not really a good pool to be in if your intention is to be married. So.
Right.
And then the fourth thing would be to ask those clarifying questions. The book that we have, this book has probably over 300 questions in it. So you want to definitely ask questions and then respect the answers. And if, despite any emotional state you're in, you might be really attracted to this person. If they don't fit the non-negotiables, if you're looking for someone that is gainfully employed, doesn't have any children, and yet you meet someone that's not working and has a set of twins, it's just not that is something that's one of your non-negotiable is you have to stick to that. Because down the line, that's gonna hurt. You can compromise, because people were saying, well, that sounds awfully rigid. There's no compromising. There is compromising once you know that you're aligned with that person. That's important. You gotta be aligned in order to move forward. And if you're not aligned, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. And I think that is the step that we skipped so many times. And that's how you end up in relationships with somebody you have no business with.
Right.
And you just kind of keep hanging around, and it's a toxic relationship, or it's not a fulfilling relationship. You're feeling like you settled. And it's because you didn't ask those questions and really respect and take heed to those answers.
And the part that really hurts me about that is you end up wasting your time and someone else's time because you didn't stick to those non-negotiables.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, whatever is on that list is going to resurface, and it's not going to go anywhere. So either you can not deal with it and be unhappy, or you can recognize it immediately, and it might hurt initially for a little while, but in the long run, you won't have that a greater hurt, I guess I would say.
Right.
So,
right.
And then you all list some typical reasons we ignore or compromise our non-negotiables. So the first one is attractiveness. You meet someone that looks like Idris Elba, but everything on like you forget it. That's all that's gone. You're like Idris, or Thelma back in the day. I don't know, but but that attractive. You're like, forget my list.
Right.
Convenience. Oh, the person is in the building that I live in. I don't really have to do much. Go spend money traveling. Fear, damage from past hurt, low self-esteem, financial situation, wealth of potential partner, fear of being alone, fitting in, settling, age, pressure from friends, family, or children. And then the final one that you all have is loneliness. And it's so interesting. As I read down this list, I was looking at different themes, and most of the themes are like trauma, lust, and fear. Like those are the three, boom, boom, boom: fear, trauma, and lust. And then even with the trauma, that's still a little bit of the fear, because you're kind of like, you don't want to go back to what triggered you, what may trigger you. And then this is really, I'm telling you, my urbanites, you have to get this book, www.intentionalforthenumberplay.com. This will help you from having a headache and being with somebody that you have no idea that I'm telling you. Now, I have to say, thank God I dodged a couple of bullets in my time. Hallelujah.
Right.
Because I wasn't intentional. No one taught me about being intentional. And no one taught me about having these non-negotiables and not compromising. And I think for us, especially as Black Americans and as Black women, we were taught, kind of, you get what you get. And, don't be so bougie. Don't be so particular about, you get what you get. If you want Tyrone right there, and, you can have Tyrone. But I know I wasn't taught that, you need to have these non-negotiables. And this is something that I'm going to really talk to my sons as well as my daughters, because my sons need non-negotiables too. There are certain things that I know as a mom that I would be, oh my goodness, if my son go home a certain day, I'm like, what? Oh my, what? Because I'm like, son, snap out of it, But you said something also, a haphazard journey versus a self-directed choice. And that's the two paths that you take, one or the other, and that's it. And unfortunately, in our community, we don't talk about things like this. We don't have the tools to say, you know what? That guy is no good. That guy is no good for you. And guess what? You, like you said, you have to know yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of us, we don't know ourselves, to have this list of non-negotiables. Like, what do I like? I don't know. And then Sydney, for your list of non-negotiables, you had like non-smoker, a person in the Lord, you had a lot of these things that, and I think you said something that you can compromise. And I think that there are different degrees of compromising.
True.
Like, say, for instance, my husband, he washing dishes. Okay. So he may wash dishes. That's a small compromise for him. But I know his non-negotiable was, because my husband had non-negotiables. His non-negotiable he did was someone that did not have children, because he wanted to have his own family, that was his non-negotiable. So if a woman, was interested in him and they had children, he was like, no. And he wasn't ashamed of his non-negotiable. Right.
He knew what he wanted. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Because when you don't have a list, like you said earlier, you end up settling, and that's what we do. We settle in relationships, and we settle because of those things that you read, because we're scared of being alone, because of low self-esteem, because of past trauma. And women, men, we really have to learn the difference between settling and then compromise, because they're very different.
Yes, explain the difference.
Well, the difference is with compromise is an external process, right? And so it's a natural give and take in a relationship. So at times, you're going to give a little bit more. At times, your partner's going to give a little bit more. And it's okay, because you all are on the same page. Right. And so you feel confident about that. Whereas when you settle, that's more of an internal battle, right? So you become kind of silent. You're afraid to speak up and talk about your desires because you're afraid you're going to chase the person away. And so you end up having to choose. You have to choose between yourself or the relationship. And we know that in a healthy relationship, you don't have to choose. You shouldn't have to choose. You can have both. You can be fulfilled individually, and yet you can help and be fulfilled within that relationship. And so people have to learn the difference between those two, and really settling and sacrifices they're really frenemies. You know, they don't you feel good because you're sacrificing and you're supporting, but in the meantime it's kind of eating you up. So you want to go with compromise and the communication. That's the healthier route. When you settle, I equate that to like musical chairs. It's like you are just kind of, you're going around and you're just going to sit in any seat. You're going to just take any available seat because you don't want to be the left one standing. And so you might win a round, but you're not winning the game with that one. You know, so stop playing musical chairs. That's one of my takeaways. We can't play musical chairs. We have to have non-negotiables, and like you said, a more self-directed, a self-guided path.
Right. Because you just said something, and it brought something to my memory about settling. I think oftentimes because we choose not to say things and we settle, it can really adversely affect our immune system, and we can become sick.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't really associate those things with, tumors, colds, flus, immune system being compromised because we settle in a relationship.
Right, exactly. We're not feeling our best selves. We're under a lot of stress and duress, which, like you said, affects. We have migraines. We're in the bed. We, have all kinds of issues going on. So we really have to be careful about our choices. I mean,
I was eating everything.
See, obesity, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And then for us, I know, wrinkles on the face. I don't like wrinkles, so I try not to be stressed.
Right.
So let's see, who do we have? We have Bridget Jackson. She says, awesome. We have your source, Sharon Williams. She's in the Urban Suite looking at us. So exciting. Let's see. She says she picked up the book at Hampton's Homecoming. Excellent resource. Yay. Belinda Gordon Battle. She's right here. We have Kim Varner, your soar, Kim.
Hey, Kimmy.
Oh, this sisterly love.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Lisa, for having Lesson Sydney on this evening. Congratulations, Lesson Sydney, on the publication of your book. Looking forward to it becoming a bestseller. Yes, I have to say, I'm going to be honest. This is one of the best relationship books I've read. I'm
Thank
serious.
you.
And I tell you why. Okay, so, I'm a Christian. And sometimes I have to be honest, the Christian books are just they're not practical to me sometimes. It's not practical. And I need something practical that I don't care if you're a Christian. I don't care if you're atheist. I don't care what you are. You can pick up this book and understand it and read it, and it will help you become intentional about your relationships. And not only your personal relationships, but even in the world of work. Sometimes we haphazardly look for jobs. We just haphazardly do our resume. We just haphazardly, and it's about being intentional in life. But again, I love this intentional foreplay because, like I said, who doesn't love foreplay? I mean, come on now. Let's give it up for foreplay. Thank you, Lord.
Right. Dr. Lacan, it's interesting you mentioned about churches and Christianity and couples counseling, because one of the largest churches in Philadelphia just picked the book up to use in their couples counseling. So it is being used in churches now.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And we want it to be relatable and practical. Like you said, we're real people. We've had a lot of marital experience. I think 40 years between us both. If we can't get this right, right? We have 4 decades. 4 decades.
So yes. So any other last words?
Let me see some takeaways for you all. Definitely, stop playing musical chairs. We talked about that. Don't negotiate your non-negotiables. And always remember that chemistry might get you in the door, but it's that compatibility that will keep you in the house.
Yes.
So that's what. Yes. Leave you with those messages.
Yes. Now, okay, you said that. Now I need you to say that again and explain that to my audience, because that's powerful. Let me look that up.
Technical issue real quick.
Oh, okay, that's all right. I said there's a technical issue. I was going to tap dance. So
right, technical issue.
We quickly got it taken care of.
Right. So okay, so the 3 takeaways.
But the chemistry versus
chemistry.
Yes. So chemistry. Yes. So chemistry will get you in the door, but it's that compatibility that will keep you in the house.
Now explain the difference.
Well, the different chemistry is that initial physical attraction that we talked about, the lust, I'm attracted to him because of, looks or a financial situation or something that may feel good temporarily. But it's the compatibility and it's the alignment of the values. It's an alignment of how you feel about family, with the value that you place on education. It's compatibility in all those areas. And that's illustrated in all the chapters in the book. Family, finance, travel, decision making, date night, communication, trust,
holidays,
all those areas in the book that we talk about. We want to make sure that there's compatibility in those areas. Yes, because that's what is sustainable.
Right, because you all ask some very deep questions, and I have to say, people have to be ready for this. You have to be ready for this. You have to put on your big bloomers and be ready to get into this book, because you will know your level of maturity as you read through these books and as you answer these questions, because this is about being authentic, like you said, and you can't be ashamed. If you want somebody, because you even talk about, I think maybe is this one, compatibility in the bedroom. That's important too.
Right.
Absolutely.
Some people may want to get spanked. Some people just may want to look. Hey, I mean, that's the reality of it.
That's how you have the longevity.
Right, there you go. All right, Les, any last words from you?
I think my favorite part I want the urbanites to take away is to treat your relationship more intentional, like maybe even treat it like buying a car. I kind of talked about that earlier. It may not be buying a car, maybe buying a house. We do a lot of due diligence in all of that on those other things, but a lot of times because of the lust or some of the other factors that we tend to allow to cloud our vision, we don't really do our work. So I would like people to really do their work. And we were fortunate, Sid and I, that we had, again, part of being in a good community like Hampton folk, we were able to reach out to people and ask people about each other before we got into it. So there was a lot of background checking or discussion that went on outside of just us talking. So I think at that time when we first started talking, we might have had like 800 or 900 mutual friends.
Wow.
So between that, we were able to really get some good feedback and intel on each other that helped us kind of go the way it did. So
wow, that is beautiful. I am so happy for you all. I really am. I just thank God for you guys, your story, your testimony, your authentic self, because you laid out a lot of things in this book, which a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't, but you all did that. And I'm looking forward to the tour that you all are going to be on.
Yes, we're going to claim it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And Bridget Jackson said, this was a great session. Priceless tips. It really is. I'm telling you. Okay. And this is going to be in more churches. It has to be. This is stamp of approval from Dr. Lisa.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa. We appreciate you. We
Yes.
appreciate.
I appreciate you guys.
And I also just want to leave with this one last thing. We want our married couples to take this book off the shelf as well, because they can use it as well too. I mean, especially with certain chapters on like dating and communication, you could certainly realign your relationship. So it's not just for singles.
Right.
People looking,
You know, because you can drive that old car out of alignment. You think you're going straight, but now you turning this way and you're going sideways. So just pull the book off the shelf and utilize it to ask some questions to try to bring your marriage, your relationship back into alignment every once in a while.
Because people change, you know. My time is different than when Sean met me 20-something years ago. I'm not the same person. He's not the same person. So we have to realign and
you gotta redefine that date night. You gotta redefine what time of day works best for you to communicate. You gotta redefine a lot of things. So
absolutely,
that's absolutely important. But
absolutely,
we truly thank you and thank everybody who is watching for all your support.
Oh, thank you, Alan. Yes,
thank you, Doctor.
Yay! Thank you all.
Thank you very
all
much.
Right. Enjoy your evening.
You too. Have a great night.
Bye. Oh, that was beautiful. I love that. I'm telling you. Listen, my urban nights. What you get here in the urban suite is priceless. Curtis, what did you think?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a lot of great advice. And they need to promote that a lot more, because just like you said, people don't get that practical advice in how to develop a relationship into a marriage. You don't get that anywhere. They can teach that in schools. I mean, forget the church. I mean, what about schools?
Right.
Put that give them something practical to learn. So I mean, that's what's going to affect most of your life after that.
Yes, yes. So listen, my urbanites, I am here next Tuesday. I'm here live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Urban Suite. So next week, Lord willing, is no exception. I'll be here. So I need you in the meantime. I need you to like. I need you to share. I need you to subscribe. I need you to tell people about Urban Tools for Change, because it's right here in the Urban Suite where you will laugh, learn, cry, and grow. And on that note, Molly, take us away.